And once again, we are live. Welcome to the Project X podcast. This is episode 6. I am Alan Smith.
I'm Big Dave.
And we are here today to talk about failed attempts at being cool. Oh, this one's going to hurt a lot. So,
nothing like self-inflicted
yeah,
pain.
Man, I wanted to be cool so badly when I was growing up. And
well, everybody does.
I mean, just... I don't even know where to begin on this one. I mean, there are so many.
I have a failed attempt at being cool that it's huge.
All right, we'll let Dave go with this one.
It's giant.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Okay.
It basically started when I was 7, and it didn't end until like my mid-30s when I gave up on trying to be cool.
Okay.
Everything between that is a failed attempt at being cool.
So you're talking about like most of your life.
Most of my life. The most of my life is a failed attempt at being cool in several different aspects, and what I realize is that I'm never going to be cool. And hi, my name is Dave. I'm never going to be cool. Thanks for letting me share it.
Yeah, I honestly don't even know where to begin with this one because. Man, I tried so hard when I was young. I mean, it just...
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
You still have the leather pants, right?
You know what? We actually talked about this before we said coffee.
I did that on purpose.
I just remembered. I told you wrong. I have 2 pair of them. I still have.
You still have 2 pairs?
Yeah, one of them. There's no way they would ever fit. Okay, the other ones I could probably drop a few pounds and get back into them, but I wouldn't. Okay, that's
okay. So we're not going to go through a fat Jim Morrison period.
No, because that's you see somebody like Axl Rose, or Tommy Lee,
Slash is still doing
Slash, or any number. Val Kilmer in The Doors, portraying Jim Morrison, wearing, leather pants, and you're like, oh my God, that is so cool looking.
Until you put them on.
And then you put them on, and you're like, oh my God, this looks horrible.
And why do I have swamp crotch?
I mean, just all of the...
For the record, I never owned a pair.
Yeah.
I never wanted a pair because I have always been... on the chunky side.
Yes, same here.
And I didn't want to look like overpacked sausage.
I'll say this. I was never, when I was young, when I was a junior in high school, I dropped 40 pounds. This is before we knew each other, And what's funny is that what I weighed then is less than what I weigh now. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I could stand to lose some weight, but you're not going to go, oh, look at that fat guy, type thing.
That's my job now on the show. I'm the fat guy.
But you're also taller, and, that's,
6'2", 350 pounds is not a good look unless you're a lineman.
But let's put it this way. When you're 5'8", okay?
Okay.
You put on any amount of weight, and it looks a lot worse. Yeah. Because there's more weight going into more space. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Yeah.
So, being over 200 pounds when I was in high school, and had not grown to a full 5'8" at that point. So
he had high hopes. Folks.
Yeah. That just didn't happen. But it was one of those things that I dropped the weight, all that kind of stuff. And this is at the height of hair metal. And I was really into it, and all. I mean, it was during that time period that I started playing guitar. I liked it, but it was watching MTV and seeing those music videos and thinking, this is how I can get girls to like me. Okay, this is how I can be cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm here to tell you right now that playing guitar has never gotten me laid, ever. I take that back. One time, now that I think about it, now one time it contributed, but it was one of those things where I would look at people on television and in movies, and all that stuff, and really model. That's how cool I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the thing is,
everybody sees somebody in the public
exactly.
eye and has aspirations.
Exactly.
To go, oh, look at that!
You know, it started when we were kids with Fonzie.
Yeah.
You know, or Danny Zuko. As much as I hate Grease, he was still a really cool dude. You know, I mean, like when I was a kid, I still liked it back then. You know, I was
always kind of a Kenickie guy.
Okay, either way, a T-Bird.
Yeah.
Okay,
T-Bird. Everybody wanted to be a T-Bird.
You know, yeah, you had the couple of goof-offs, you know, but they were still part of the T-Birds, you know, and it's like, hey, I don't mind as long as I'm part of the group. I don't mind being the comic relief or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
I'm starting to see a common theme here. It's a leather biker jacket.
Okay, it's one of the things I actually want to talk about like this. I still have my leather biker jacket.
I don't have mine any longer.
I bought it during the summer after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to put dates on this because,
yeah,
you know, I don't want to feel as old as I am.
We're talking about the classic.
Yeah, the bike, you know, the zipper that's like offset.
Yeah.
That's got the belt on the bottom of it. You know, what you would imagine, you know, for
anybody worth their weight back then at that age had one of those.
Right.
Mine I had taken it and had. There was an airbrush guy at the mall at the time, and I had blue flames starting at the end of the cuffs. And blue flames going up both sleeves.
Nice.
I don't know if you remember that.
I vaguely, yeah.
You
know about mine because mine stuck around for a long time. And that was one of those things that I bought it and I loved that jacket. I mean, I loved that jacket. Something in my head said, just having this jacket makes me cool.
Yes, it does.
I play music. This makes me cool. You know, this jacket is the thing that helps make me cool. This and that and blah, 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 blah. I look back now and want to slap myself. Not because I still love that jacket. I still have that jacket, and every once in a while, I still pull it out and wear it. And I'll wear it for 2 or 3 days and then feel like a complete idiot and then put it back in the closet again.
I would still wear mine if I had it.
Now, I have other leather jackets that are not the biker style, you know, that like, I have one in particular that I still wear from time to time, you know.
The thing with that thicker leather, though, it breaks in.
It does.
It's a more comfortable wear.
Like I said, I've had that jacket for close to 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's still a pretty nice jacket, you know. I mean, well, I would say nice. It's still in pretty good shape because I did take care of it and that type of stuff. But there did come a time when I finally had to admit, you know what? The biker jacket is cool. You are not.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times you put this jacket on,
you're
not going to be cool. Well, I have so many of those stories of, and we can just go through. I mean, like,
did you get yours at Wilson at the mall also?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not buy it at Wilson. I did buy it at the mall.
Okay.
Chess King.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that place. Yeah.
Here's the story behind that jacket. Okay, I middle of the summer.
Yeah.
Legit. I put it on layaway because I didn't have the couple $100 or whatever it was that I paid for it at the time, you know. And it was one of those things that I could not wait to get it out. And I wound up getting it out in like August, like late August or something like that. I didn't because it was still too hot. Okay.
I was going to say, were you one of those guys that wore like the Bermuda shorts with the leather jacket?
No. I was never one of those. But I tried wearing it. If you've never been to Tennessee and in what is the fall of the year, it doesn't really start becoming fall of the year until late October. It's still hot.
You know, everybody talks about August being hot. September is
and usually the first half of October is just as hot. So
as hot and sometimes hotter.
Yes. So I had this new coolness in my life, and I couldn't wear it.
Yeah.
What I did do, oh my God, I can't believe I'm telling anybody this because I've never told anybody this, so you're all privileged. What I would do, though, is when I was at home by myself, I would put it on and stand in front of the mirror and try to figure out, like, what looks the coolest. Like, how do I stand? How do I do, like...
You were trying different T-shirts.
Oh, man, it was... Yes, I did that, okay? It's embarrassing now to say it, but it's like, hey, you know what? I've lived this long and through far, far more embarrassing things. So, why not talk about this as well?
Oh, yeah.
But it went even further than that because I was so wrapped up in that rock and roll coolness, okay? That, like,
You wanted to be a rock star.
I did. I wanted to be a rock star. I didn't want to be a musician. I wanted to be a rock star. That's what I wanted. And I got so wrapped up in it for a lot of my, all through my teen years and into my 20s, of like, I would go to concerts and I would spend half the time, rather than watching the show, I was watching everybody else there trying to figure out how I'm supposed to act to fit this lifestyle.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. I went to every concert that came to town, because back then I didn't have any responsibilities and a lot of disposable income.
Concerts were also cheap.
They were also a lot cheaper back then.
I mean, you go to Starwood and get a $10 lawn seat.
Yeah,
pretty much every concert
I remember, like,
that came through.
In the early to mid 90s, like, getting like really like, well, as good a seats as you could get, because I was one of those people that would get up and like go sit in front of Ticketmaster, on Saturday mornings before they went on, get in line. And, even got like third, fourth row tickets, like right in the middle, and was still only paying like $35 a piece for them.
Like at Poison show we went to.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And it was like, okay. And that, Poison, okay?
Well, that was Poison and Motley Crue, but it was Motley Crue without Tommy Lee.
No, that was
that a different show?
That was a different show.
They all kind of blend together.
It was whenever they did back in the early 2000s when they were doing those tours. So it was like Poison and Cinderella and
Scorpions.
Was the Scorpions on it? Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like one of those package deals where it was like 4 or 5 bands, because I went to several of those, But, and talking about Poison, okay?
Yeah.
Bret Michaels was one of my Mount Rushmore of cool back then, okay?
Yeah, okay.
I know now we look at him, he's kind of skeezy, okay? I mean, but at one point, he was one of the coolest people on the planet. I'm sorry, I don't care. Even if you like didn't like hair metal, you had to admit that Bret Michaels was one of the coolest people on the planet at one point.
I still didn't mind. I still would have wanted to have like had dinner with him or hung out with him until he started doing the VH1.
Yeah, well, that was much later though,
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that he had long hair that was cool.
Yeah.
He was built. I mean, it was one of those things. He obviously spent time in the gym.
He was skinny.
He was skinny built. Exactly. It was one of those things where he was ripped more than anything. He
was head of a really decent rock act.
He was a decent, and he was a good looking dude on top of it all. And it was one of those dudes that when you would see him like in like interviews and stuff, or like, yeah, I understand why women want to have sex with him, and that had a lot to do for me personally. Well, maybe we had to back this up a little bit. Growing up in a very religious family, sex was one of those things that we did not talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was not talked about unless it was don't do it. That was pretty much it, And I stayed on that line for a long time. And then after I got out of high school and, got into college and really wanted to start pursuing my rock star, lifestyle, it was one of those things. It was like all of a sudden it just really kicked into high gear for me of wanting sex more than I probably had ever in my life and in my very young life. And so it was one of those things of like
might have been something to do with the hormones.
Yeah, probably too, being that age and everything. But it was one of those things that was, even though I was not a quote unquote horn dog, it was still one of those things where
but
I wanted women to want to have sex with me.
Yeah.
Probably more than I actually wanted.
You were a little bit of a horn dog.
A little bit, but a little bit. Well, that came later, okay? that came much later, okay? At this time in my life, and I say all this because this all has to do with at the time what I thought was cool. What I thought was cool, So it's one of those things that like
the whole basis behind it is girls and
absolutely
trying to be cool,
right?
To get the girls,
right? And I remember so many times like trying, and I know that everyone around me like could smell the desperation of me trying to be cool, and like with my jacket, I remember like hanging out, I had my jacket on, and was like hanging. I was probably 19 or 20 years old or something like that, and being at church with my girlfriend, whoever I was dating at the time or whatever, and like we were sitting around talking, and one of the guys who was like probably in his late 20s at the time, he was about like the next generation up, not terribly older than us or anything, just kind of messing around, like coming up and just like like I had like they had the little like snaps on the shoulders, you know, with the little loop, whatever, and him like unsnapping those things, and it just flew all over me.
How dare you?
How dare you mess with my cool? You know, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
but and then not knowing how to recover from it, and it's just you know, and you know that type of stuff, and it wasn't anything. He was doing nothing with malice. It was just more of
he knows how.
Yeah.
He knows what you're doing because he's already been there.
Right.
And he sees how hard you're trying. And that's always been my case. I've always tried too hard.
Right.
It's always been to where if I had just done it and let it go, it probably would have been cool. But I've always had to overreach. Mm-hmm. Always.
Exactly. It's
and
like
he was just kind of walking up and letting that helium out of your balloon.
Exactly. And you know, and one of the things, you know, when people talk about cool, you know, that they always say is that if you have to tell somebody you're cool, you're not cool.
You're not cool.
And
I don't even want to get into the amount of people like, I'm cool. I'm cool.
Well, I don't want to know the amount of times that I've like defended my cool.
Yeah.
And just like now I look back at it and I laugh, you know, but it was something that at the time really meant a lot to me. Well, you know, and I think it was a lot of
you're trying to build your own identity.
Exactly.
And you want that identity to be cool.
Exactly. And that's one of those things that when you're 16 to about 23, 24, after college, you know, somewhere in that, you really are just trying on a bunch of different t-shirts, trying to figure out which one fits you.
Right.
You know, and
it being a chubby kid, every single one of those t-shirts was as high as too small for me.
Well, exactly. And that was the first, you know, it was one of those things that I lost weight when I was in my, you know, when I was a junior in high school. And I remember coming out of that, you know, and all of a sudden, I won't say being cool, but finding myself in a different social stratus than I was prior to that. Mainly not because I'd lost weight and people were looking at me differently, but because all of a sudden I was finding confidence.
Yeah.
And I remember the last day of my junior year of high school, you know, it was like a half day, and I brought my guitar to school that day. It was the first time that I had done that.
Yeah. And
I'd been playing about a year and a half at the time or something like that. This is, the hair thing was still pretty big, you know, and I had learned a good chunk of the power ballads, you know, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember like sitting around and playing, and like, I always say this was the day that like my high school career changed forever, because I found myself sitting in the outside the cafeteria. There's this open area, like seating area.
Yeah.
Sitting up there playing, and there was like 10 girls all sitting. Oh, do you know how to play this? Do you know how to play this? And singing along, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. And like, I legit left. It was a half day. We left at noon.
Yeah.
I left, went straight home, and all summer long, all I did was learn songs.
Well, yeah.
Because all of a sudden it was, hey,
look at all the girls that are paying attention to me.
Didn't work. But I mean, it was one of those things where like we would bring, you know, me and my other friend Dave would bring his guitar to school. Of course, he didn't really care about that so much. He was playing, you know, like Metallica and Slayer and, you know, like, which I learned some Metallica, you know, but it was one of those things where he was doing all that stuff, like a little like the heavier stuff, and I was learning, you know,
the melodic,
to, you know,
hey, look at me, I need you to take your shirt off type stuff.
One of the songs I learned to play that summer was More Than Words.
Yeah.
And that was always one that the girls, oh, can you play More Than Words? Oh my God. And, you know, of course I couldn't sing it because I didn't have that high of a voice, but, you know, but it was still one of those things that we play it and everybody else is singing, and it was like, all right, cool. And that was awesome to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my senior year was a completely different thing from the 3 years prior. But it was there was still a lot of anxiety around that being cool or trying to be cool, because I still wasn't. You know, I was faking it okay, but I knew I was not cool.
Yeah.
No matter how much I tried to convince myself. So there's all that, and then a bunch of other. Probably the biggest one though, and you know this because you were around, was whenever I created the alter ego.
Oh. Should we talk about the
We're
alter
going
ego?
to. We're going to. And people, I know people are like, really, an alter ego? I was like, yeah, I had an alter ego for years. There are people still that do not call me Alan. They call me by this stupid nickname that I was given. That I just, oh, you mean I get to recreate myself? And I was like way too old for that too. I was like 26 years old or some crap like that, you know?
And because I was on the fringes of that same group, it was a bunch of dudes who were not
cool. I know.
Who basically started their own little gang.
Right.
And
we found strength in numbers.
Yeah.
You know, we would go into a bar or a club or something like that and pretty much take it over because we were just being dumb and having fun.
We don't care, and we're going to be loud and obnoxious.
Right, and that kind of stuff. But the thing is that during that time period, because one of the guys that was in there decided everybody needed a nickname and was like handing out nicknames, you know, to well, this blah, 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 and I got one.
I ended up with one too.
Yeah. But I fully embraced mine, though. I mean,
you really did.
And like, I mean, I
tried to shun mine, but the
I
problem
know.
is that half of it was something that I'd been called for a short bit in high school.
Right. Yeah, and I was given the nickname Augie. Okay, and I hated it at first. I hated it. I thought it was a stupid name. It's a blah 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 blah.
You had two alternative.
Well, the other one that comes later. That's something completely different. Though. We'll get to that. And that was, I think, me embracing not being cool and just saying, you know what, screw it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do what's fun.
Yeah.
But when and I will even this day talk about Augie as somebody different because it wasn't me.
No,
it was
that guy
Augie,
was totally different.
He was totally different, totally an ass.
Yeah, I would. During the period that you were going by Augie, you notice I kind of disappeared.
Yeah, a lot of people did. You know, and it was one of those things that there were people that still call me that who may or may not know my real name. Or if they do, that's just what they call me. And it's because I would introduce myself that way.
Yeah.
And it was all an attempt to create this other person who was cool.
Cool.
But the problem is that I kept poking through eventually. I almost had them convinced for about a year or so.
Yeah.
And then
the real you shows up.
All my insecurities and my not being cool and all that kind of stuff just started showing through.
Yeah.
In the worst ways possible, at the worst times possible.
Which always happens.
And it was one of those things where I was like, I finally got it. I finally am on top of this thing. I've got this, you know, and then it just, And then after that happened, it was sad. I'll admit, looking back on it, it was sad for a long time because I was still trying to be that person.
Yeah.
But all the gravitas that I had built up was gone. And, you know, it's kind of like the guy who, you know, graduated high school 10 years prior but is still going to the high school football games and the parties afterwards, hanging out with the high school kids trying to be cool. And it's like, no, dude, go away. You're not wanted here. Thanks for the beer, but go away. You know, it's
Matthew McConaughey's character.
It's Wooderson. It's Wooderson. Yeah, it's like where it's and except not as cool. I mean, honestly, that dude was still, you know.
Anybody's got that kind of Chevelle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was just that's where I found myself.
Yeah,
and leaned into it, unfortunately.
Oh, you leaned into it.
Yeah, and so it was
like me. You overreached.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's just, I'll admit, at my age now, there's still a part of me that wants to be cool. You know, I mean, it's just
be cool. I've just decided that there's no being cool without I'm not going to be able to follow the trends.
No,
I'm not ever going to be a trendsetter.
No.
If I feel like, to me, that's cool, then I'm probably going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I care.
Yeah, Biscuit, you're cool. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I worry about what people think about me, but I can't get wrapped up into it.
No, not like I used to.
Even though I still do. You can't help it. Part of mine is because I moved around so much, I was always the new kid. And when you're the new kid, you're always trying to be cool, to get attention, to get the new set of friends. You're always
Right.
trying to get in with the cool kids, and then you end up with your, like-minded people end up attracted to each other and end up in the same group. So you always ended up in, the social that I've always ended
Right.
up with, which is the ones that were always into music and comic books and video games.
Right.
And, what everybody always called the geeks or the
Right,
nerds
right.
or whatever. I was basically one of the kids off of Stranger Things. AV Club, all that type of stuff. I still do AV.
Right.
I am permanently now an AV guy.
Right.
And that's not cool.
Yeah, whatever. I occupied a strange place. I guess I should probably say I now occupy a strange place.
Okay.
But I always also did, because it's one of those things that having friends who were those geeks, whatever we were really like all that stuff, sci-fi and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. It's one of the situation where I, again, like you said, I always wind up finding those people.
Yeah.
But I'm also really into sports.
Oh, yeah.
Always have been. And I played sports,
Yeah.
and that kind of. So it's one of those things that my friends who played sports didn't understand why I hung out with those nerds, and my friends who hated sports couldn't figure out why I was hanging out with those jocks. And
I'm kind of the same way.
and it was that one of those situations where it was just like, and then of course playing music, there's a third thing there where they're like, they don't like the nerds or the jocks.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I always found myself in those circles where I was like, it's like a Venn diagram, where it's like
That's why I kind of say I was always on the fringes, because I
Right.
was always on the fringe of several different groups.
Right,
The
right.
musicians, the geeks, the nerds. I had friends that played sports.
Right.
I was never good enough to make the school teams and all that, but when the backyard football game
right.
came up, pretty much freshman in high school being 6'2",
Mm-hmm.
or being 6 foot and 200 pounds. People want you to play on their backyard
Absolutely.
football.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they want you down low under the basket when when you're playing basketball.
Right.
Lord help you if you're tripping over your size 12
Yeah,
feet
exactly.
like I was.
Exactly.
And that's
And that again goes back to I played sports.
yeah.
And I grew up playing baseball. I loved baseball. I loved it. It was something that I even wanted to play professionally.
Yeah.
But the thing is that
What are you gonna do? Shortstop?
no, I was a pitcher.
That was a shortstop.
Funny, yeah, no. No, I was a pitcher. A couple things happened. One, I blew out my arm. I mean, at an early age. I was like 12
Yeah.
when it happened. The other thing was that also marked that time when I was playing, having fun, and basically using what athletic ability I had to
Yeah.
play and have fun. Whereas other people were getting private coaches and, really
Because their
all-
parents are
Exactly.
grooming them at 8 or 9 years
to
old
be right.
to start getting the college scholarships.
Right, and all
to
that
get
kind of
to the
stuff. And it's like,
pros.
I wanted to play to have fun. I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
It's like if I made the pros, that's cool and all that kind of stuff. But it was more of okay, whatever. I
If it's
I
not
don't
fun,
want to.
why do it?
Exactly, and so that was kind of when I stopped, was because I was like, this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of people who are really uptight. 10, 11, 12-year-old kids who are uptight about a missed call or a missed ball or something like that. And it's like, we're out here having fun, aren't we?
Yeah, that's totally the parents' projecting.
Oh, I know it is, but it was still that type of stuff where it was just like, yeah. And so that's when I jumped off of that. And then, football, going to a small school and having people that were in a higher socioeconomic
Yeah.
bracket than you are and having influence over their kids playing
Yeah.
there. I in junior high school I quit immediately because it was like, I'm never going to become a starter because
Who can compete with money and politics?
exactly, that type of stuff. But I was involved still. When I was a freshman in high school, I became one of the managers for the football team.
Yeah.
So I was always around. I knew all the football players. I knew I did basketball one year. I knew all the coaches. I knew all this. I had keys to the school, for Christ's sake,
Yeah.
for a couple of years. You know, I mean, legit, like I could get into any place in the school,
Yeah.
you know, type stuff. And it was kind of cool because it was I wasn't cool, but I knew people who were cool, you know, so it was kind of that cool by association
Yeah.
in some ways. But at the same time, I was just like, I don't care to go to any of the parties or that kind of stuff. Because again, I was never going to get there growing up religious. You know, my parents were not going to let me go to a party because, oh, they might be drinking or something,
Yeah.
you know. Somebody somewhere might be drinking, and so therefore you're not going out tonight, you know.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things I really just didn't care about going because I kind of, that was at a time when my idea of cool wasn't going and doing that. My idea of cool was playing at the parties.
Yeah.
I wanted to play the music at the parties, you know, and that type of stuff, and didn't have the resources to be doing it at that age.
Yeah. Well, my trying to be cool was, it started way on back. As we were still living in Kentucky, my mom played piano.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother played piano. There were pianos at both houses. I took piano lessons. I didn't keep it up. I wish I had, actually.
Right, yeah.
But I hated.
That's one thing I wish I had never stopped playing piano.
I hated practicing.
Right, same here.
I've got a lazy bone in me. I admit it. There's certain things that I like instant gratification. Like, I kind of wish,
Millennial.
guilty. I'm kind of, how do I put this? I wish the Matrix was somewhat real, to where I go, oh, I want to know how to do that, and I could plug in, have it downloaded, and just be able to do it. I hated the practicing.
I get that. I'm kind of the same way. So.
But Mom made me take piano lessons, and lucky for me, my cousin taught piano lessons, so I'm sure there was some kind of agreement there. And I would see them at church, and she'd be like, "Are you practicing?" You know, Mom would actually have to make me sit down and practice. But my grandmother, her mom, I wasn't very old. It's probably 5 or 6. You know how you used to get those toy drum kits from the Sears catalog?
Oh yeah. Did it have Animal on it? It was Muppets.
No,
It wasn't.
no. It was a step up from that, actually. It was like almost, now all the drum heads, of course, were like some kind of heavy plastic coated
Right.
But
I got one for my son. It's a first act, is what they call it, you know, and it's just a little,
yeah, it was like something like that.
Right.
And I loved that thing. But it had to stay at my grandmother's house. My parents would not let it come to my house.
Right.
So I was always trying to get over to grandmother's house, and you know, I loved that drum kit, and it was even like this psychedelic, like pink.
Nice.
I mean, it was really cool. I played that thing so much that they would have to take the heads off and masking tape them, because I had beat holes in them, so they would have to like masking tape and duct tape the heads back on. Loved drums. And then 5th grade came around. Well, I'm not really good at sports. What do you mean I can actually learn how to play drums? And you know, 5th grade, you know, there's school band.
Right.
And suddenly my parents are shelling out $200-$300 for a snare drum with a case and a set of little xylophone and drumsticks. Suddenly I'm getting to learn how to play drums for real. And I was like, heck yeah. I don't care that people think I'm a band nerd, because we're all cool here.
Right.
I'm playing drums. What are you doing? And yeah, I got to wear the funny outfit with the feather on the hat and all that. But I was getting to play music legit. Some of it was okay and some of it wasn't. But you know, I was playing drums. Who cares about anything?
Exactly.
And I'm still playing drums. In fact, my drums are over there. Time for a doggy break, I guess.
Yeah. And then doggies want to get out and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was funny because like when band came around, I guess it was in 5th grade, somewhere in there, I wanted to play drums.
Yeah.
It was not happening in my house.
Yeah.
So my parents, they had a meeting, you know, where you go and you're looking at the different instruments and blah, blah, blah.
They try you out on different instruments.
I wound up playing trumpet.
Good. Yeah.
And I played for a couple of years in the band, and then I was like, I don't like this. This is dumb. Yeah, this is not for me. This is not. I loved music, but that was not for me.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't until I was a teenager that, and a lot of it had to do with watching MTV.
Oh yeah.
And why? I mean, this is the era of Guns N' Roses had just hit huge.
Oh
and
yeah.
Everybody was just enamored with those guys, and we should probably do an episode just on them, about the phenomena that they were in the late 80s and early 90s, you know, because it was almost like Beatlemania for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, but anyways, those were the coolest guys that I'd seen ever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, those were like, no, I want to be like them.
I mean, the guitar player, you didn't even know what he looked like.
I know. It's like, he looked like Cousin It from, you know, the Addams Family, you know.
It
And
was mirror aviators,
yeah,
leather top hat,
yeah, and his,
hair.
this long curly hair that covered his face.
Yeah.
And he played like nothing you had ever seen before.
Now, that was cool.
Yeah, you know, and it was just, oh my goodness, you know, how do I get some of that? And so
Black and some color wool marching band outfit.
Not the same.
Cool.
I know,
Not
exactly.
cool.
So, you know, I got a guitar for Christmas one year, started taking lessons, and could have wound up being a lot better sooner, but got in with the wrong guitar teacher.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that type of stuff. But anyway, it was one of those things that after I did start playing a little better, you know, and that was the thing that, like, where piano or trumpet had never taken off.
Yeah.
Man, I would, you know, it's in as cheesy of a song as it is, but, you know, Bryan Adams' "Summer of '69." You know, it's like,
that's a great song.
it is, but yeah, it's kind of cheesy. But that scenario, yeah, in the beginning of it says,
First row
"Six
six
string at the 5 and dime, played it till my fingers bled."
Yeah.
Absolutely. My fingers hurt so badly for months,
Yeah.
building up the calluses, but I just kept going back, and I would get frustrated, but I just kept going back and practicing and practicing and practicing, and you know, that kind of stuff. And admittedly, at my age, I should be a whole lot better than I am.
Okay, I'm in the same boat.
A lot of that is because I don't practice. As time went on and I got wrapped up in other things, practicing my guitar kind of fell to the wayside. Also, and again, it being in a young relationship, you know, at one point, it's one of those things where my girlfriend would get mad at me because I was spending so much time playing guitar instead of with her or whatever, you know. And so, like, I stopped playing for a number of months, like literally, like for like 6 months, I never even touched my guitar.
It's funny how in so many relationships, once you start dating somebody, your instrument of choice ends up becoming the mistress in the relationship.
Yes, it is very, very true. I don't know. I mean, that particular relationship, I'm still friends with her, like all these years later. At the time, though, if you had asked her, she would have probably told you that the reason we broke up was because of the band.
Yeah.
And that was another thing, being in my first band. Okay. Yeah. And it's funny because I have recordings of some of those songs, and they're terrible. Okay. There's like one song that came out of that like we would still, like, if we went in there to play right now, we would probably play it. Yeah. That I wrote when I was 20 years old and had no life experience whatsoever, but it's still like a pretty poppy, nice song, you know. But again, wanting to be so cool and trying and basically putting on the rock star uniform.
Oh yeah.
You know, and all that kind of stuff. And then, like, I remember being at one of the show, like being at like our second show or whatever, and I had this is going to really date it. I had this No Fear shirt that I had gotten in Daytona Beach like a couple of years earlier.
If you are in your 40s, if you didn't own
No Fear or Big Johnson,
Big Dog,
yes, all that,
if you didn't have any of that gear, You were very not cool.
Right. Well,
And the rest of us were using the gear to be
to
cool.
try to be cool. Anyways, but I had this No Fear shirt that I loved, and I'd cut the arms out of it, like the sleeves off of it, that kind of stuff.
Made
And
it
so
a muscle shirt.
yeah, and it was one of those things that I had a little bit of muscle, but not like I wasn't like all ripped or anything. It was just mainly from work, that kind of stuff. I didn't really work out and everything. And I remember like a friend of a friend showing up, like, this is how bad it was, dude. I had like the ripped jeans and had that muscle shirt, and I had like, for whatever reason, had taken a bandana and hung it out my back pocket, and like,
Rose.
it was one of those things I was trying to like emulate, the people that I knew, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I remember him come walking in, and he walks up and starts laughing. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, you're wearing a muscle shirt and you ain't got any muscles. And it was just so deflating.
Yeah.
Of course, he was a dick anyways. Now I'm like, screw that guy,
Yeah.
But it was still one of those things that it was so deflating because I was like, yeah, we're going to go out here. We're going to build this up and blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, oh, thanks. And then the thing is that like we played again, like about a month later, and it was the worst show I have ever been a part of. I mean, like, we missed the music cue on the first song and had to start over, and then missed it again.
Well, that happened.
And
that wasn't the backyard party.
No. This is the band before that,
Okay.
And it was just one of those things where like when we left that night, dude, I'm not joking. I grabbed my guitar and amp and got them and loaded them up and got out of there as fast as I could because I did not want to talk to anybody. I was just so deflated of this thing that we've been working on, and we had this great show just a month prior, and this thing was like, I wouldn't even call it a train wreck because a train wreck's at least entertaining. This was just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, just bad all the way across the boards, and just not being. Man, it was rough.
It hurts. It hurts.
And I'll tell you that, going back to the leather jacket, and all that stuff, and like I remember going back to homecoming the year after we graduated high school, and it was one of those things where it still wasn't quite cool enough to wear the jacket, but I wore it because I'm coming back to my school and I'm going to be cool, and all this kind of stuff. Of course, things had changed by then. Nirvana had taken over, and all this kind of stuff, and so it was kind of like, But I remember like going and being with my girlfriend at the time, and like even seeing my friends, and it was just a weird vibe, and nothing was what I thought it was going to be. I wasn't the returning conqueror or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember we left there later, and like just being so deflated by the whole situation. Even, I mean, just, and it's to show how uncool I was. I mean, just like breaking down into tears later of like what happened. I spent all this time, and I know this sounds ridiculous talking about this, about like spending all this time on being cool of all things, but it was something that at a time in my life I thought was so important.
Yeah.
And now I look back on it, it was so ridiculous, but I spent countless amounts of hours and money.
We all did.
And I mean, all that stuff just to try to be cool. And what's cool?
Yeah.
And now that I'm older and I have kids, I'm never going to be cool again. It's like my stepdaughter, from the time she was 5 years, like when I met her when she was 5 years old, all the way to now she's a teenager. She's 14, getting ready to go into high school.
Yeah.
I've never been cool to her a day in her life.
No.
I mean, just
No.
she's enjoyed the time that we've spent together. Especially when she was a kid. And I would get down the floor and play with her and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was never cool. We would go out places, and I was just an embarrassment.
Well, there's nothing like my wife and I weren't able to have kids, so we've basically adopted, all the cousins that would have been the ages of what we would have had kids wise, and all of our friends' kids and all that. We've basically adopted them as our kids. Well, one of her cousins lives around the house from us.
Okay.
And he just turned 13 this year. And there's nothing like a brand new 13-year-old to make you feel like the uncoolest person on the face of the planet.
It's true.
And you know what's cool about that? I'm now the older individual,
Right.
who gets to be the one that walks around and pops his balloon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, when I was a kid.
And as mean as that sounds, that is a rite of passage.
In-
there is always an older cousin or somebody around you
Right.
that sees you doing all the stuff that they did as an uncool.
I know, and it's like
Age.
right there too. I know.
And you could see them doing exactly the same crap that you were doing, and you go around and you try to help them
Right.
by bringing them down a notch.
Right. Well, that was the thing, is that I had some older cousins who were and still are cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, how do you guys in your 50s still maintain that? How is it that an era that's been gone for a long time is still, you've still managed to maintain that cool for how all this time? I don't understand it, And they were always really good to me.
Yeah.
All of them still are, all my attempts, they were, they weren't the ones to be like, oh, you're trying to be cool. Oh yeah. Let's,
Yeah.
They were very much the, especially my cousin, especially my cousin Jimmy, who was like the middle brother of the three of them.
Yeah.
He was like he was very much the type who would be like, "Hey man, it's obvious you like a girl. Go talk to her."
Yeah.
No, seriously, just go over, and even would be like the conversation starter a lot of times of like, hey, but that type of stuff.
You try to help them.
Exactly, and that's...
You try to help them be the cool person that you weren't.
Right.
Because now you've got the age and the experience to go, God, that was stupid.
But Jimmy was cool when he was... it was like, I'm not even joking, like... motorcycle wreck running from the cops cool. Like
some people just have it. They're just a different species.
Right. But it's one of those things that, like, I remember being a kid and trying to whatever, not be embarrassed by my parents. And my dad would go to, he didn't have to try hard to embarrass me. He just, and it wasn't even like he's embarrassing, and it's just like, no, he would embarrass me on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, and it was one of those things that, I would like get upset about it or whatever. He's like, you just wait till you have kids, you'll find out how much fun this is. And it wasn't until I had kids I was like, you know what, Dad was right, this is so much fun. Like I would take my stepdaughter to school in the mornings, and I would roll the windows down and sing the songs that was on the radio and stuff, and she's like, stop. No, just
pull up to the school, blasted Ramones.
Exactly, whatever. And that's, and that goes back. My son's 5 years old. Okay, in a lot of ways, I'm jealous because now in 2019, as we're recording this, all the stuff that I loved when I was his age and older, that got me labeled in as a geek or a nerd or whatever, is like the coolest stuff in the world.
I know. The geeks have taken over,
and it's kinda. But Hollywood took over the geeks. Is what happened. There's a difference, But it's one of those things that I so many times have bought him clothes that I would have killed for.
Oh yeah, dude. There's
clothes that I buy for my 5-year-old. I would have killed for when I was 17, 18 years old.
Dude. When I'm in Target and walking by the kids section, because I've got to get back to where the electronics and all are. There's some clothes in there that I would kill for now.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Why can I not get this in...
I've done that a few times. I picked up, I was like, I want this in my size.
It's like, excuse me, I need this in tent and awning size.
Right,
Could you please make this for a fat guy?
But, it is that whole... going back to the... I'm not your average teenager. I'm 40.
Yeah.
40-something. I'm glad that he gets to grow up in a world of that stuff. He really likes Spider-Man and Batman and that, and I'm like, I'm glad you get to grow up in a world
where you don't get beat up for comic book shows.
You don't get ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was in high school and still reading comic books, everybody was like, why are you still reading comic books?
Because they're cool.
I know. I was like, and this is Claremont era X-Men, and go back and read that stuff. That stuff still holds up. It's still good.
Yeah.
It's still cool. But it's one of those things that it wasn't viewed that way. That was something you did when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And then when you became a teenager, you put all that stuff away.
Yeah.
I was still in love with my comic books and with my toys and with any number of things.
I still
those
buy
stupid
toys.
movies.
I just don't take them out of the bubble
look
wrap
right
now.
over there. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of them sitting on my piano over there that I never play.
Yeah. And what's great is my wife is we're kind of kindred spirits. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I got lucky. My wife loves football. Before I even met her, she was a season ticket holder over at Vanderbilt. I mean,
Nice.
she grew up in this area. She grew up watching Vanderbilt, and on her own, she would go out and she'd buy season tickets to Vanderbilt and go over and watch football games.
Right.
She loves football. She has gotten to where she will watch basketball with me. You know, I'm from Kentucky.
You're a basketball fan. Yeah.
I love Wildcats. I love, my Hilltoppers. I love watching basketball. I like baseball. I don't like watching it on TV.
No, you have to go to the park and watch it.
Go to the park and watch it. But she likes superhero movies. She likes superheroes. She is probably a bigger Star Wars geek than I am. Yes, I'm finally going to admit it. She's probably a bigger Star Wars geek than me. It's hard for me to even admit that, but
It's okay. Admitting you have a problem is the first step in getting recovery. So.
she keeps pulling factoids about Star Wars that I've never heard of. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh no, I read this thing where this is that, and I'm like, oh, I love you. You're a geek. She loves blow 'em up movies.
I'm glad that kept going. So.
Sorry, honey. It's Alan. You can get revenge on him later. So I've gotten lucky that way. But we still believe in birthdays and Christmas and all that. You should get toys, even as adults, for those.
I am 100% for that. So.
Her Christmas list probably has half a dozen Lego sets on it.
Nice.
I still get Lego. I've got 4 or 5 Lego sets. Complete Lego sets at the house that I need to put together, but I haven't had the time.
And those things are expensive now.
And almost
ridiculously expensive.
I'm not going to lie. Most of mine are Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice.
And
nothing wrong with that.
I think there may be some Batman. I'm a Batman guy.
Okay. Since we're talking about cool.
Yeah.
Or attempts to be cool.
Yeah.
Star-Lord, the character of Star-Lord, is somebody who is trying so hard to be cool and failing miserably.
I have 2 spirit animals. Star-Lord and Dave Grohl.
Okay.
Dave Grohl is one of my spirit
Dave
animals.
Grohl has played in 2 of the biggest bands in the world, and he's still a geek.
He's still a geek and
admits it. He's like, whatever, I'm not cool. And
such a songwriter and such a musician, and I've never met the guy, but I would love to sit down and just have dinner with him, and I don't even care. I just want to talk to him about the bands that he used to listen to and talk about music with you. I don't want to talk about his music. I want to talk about the music he digs.
Right.
He's one of my wife's friends works all the big special shows, and one of them that she got to do was the Foo Fighters show for the Super Bowl thing down in Atlanta, and she was sending me pictures of the show from her iPhone as it was happening, and I was like, Dave Grohl's my spirit animal.
I mean,
Dave, if you're listening, please come have dinner with me.
That's right. You can come on the show. That's right.
This is me overreaching and being desperate. Please.
Please be my friend. Let me be cool by proxy. Yeah, I know. It's the movie Almost Famous.
Yeah.
Okay, you get, and of course, it's a fictionalized version of real events. Even with like the whole Lester Bangs, it's a fictionalized version of him and everything. But there's that when at the first of it, when William and Lester Bangs meet and they're walking around and he's talking, and he's like, hey, he's like, he keeps telling him, he's like, you're not cool. He's like, no, I've seen you. You're not cool. It's like, these bands are going to try to make you feel cool, so you'll write good stuff about them. Yeah. And that kind of, and it's like that whole, there's something about finally embracing we're not cool.
Yeah.
That is liberating.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you I'm not cool. All right. As much as I've tried to be in my life, I just am not.
No. And what's sad is that you're actually cooler than I am. That's what's bad.
Well, I don't know. It is what it is, and I'm glad I survived. Honestly, because in some of my desperate attempts to try to be cool, I did some really stupid stuff.
Yes. So have I.
I guess my way of getting in with the cool crowd or being cool is by being the crazy one, that'll do anything, and God, yeah. And, whatever, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing that I found is that I don't need to be the crazy one to be cool. I'm just the crazy one. In general. And my brand of crazy,
Yeah.
not a cool brand of crazy by any stretch of the imagination. So, but now that we've had 55 minutes of therapy here, of exercising demons from childhood and, and adolescence and
It's
young
basically
adults
been
and
an AA meeting for people that are not cool.
and even middle-aged in some ways.
Raise your hand.
I know. It's like,
State your name.
Exactly.
I am not cool.
I am not cool. It's
Thank
okay.
You. Yeah, it's okay.
So anyways, thanks for listening.
Oh, how can they
Oh
get
yeah,
a hold
you
of
can get
us?
in touch with us to tell us about how uncool you are, or try to tell us,
or make fun of us because we're not cool,
or try to convince everybody else that you're cool, and we all know how that goes. Anyways, you can get in touch with us via email at projectxpod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter under Project Xpod. And
we're still working.
We're still working.
We're still working on the website.
And the thing is by the time any of this stuff goes live,
all of
it could be live
yeah.
because we're recording these, we're banking these up front. So you guys have something more to listen to than just one episode than having to wait for a long time. So
I don't think you've got your set up yet, but I've actually got an email direct for me. If you want to get a hold of me that way, it's bigdavexpod@gmail.com.
Just the other one, just I get it directly as it is.
Okay.
So it comes straight to my regular email address.
Well, there you go.
So
You can get a hold
so
of
you can get a hold of me
Alan
straight from the Xpod, the
Project Xpod at
gmail.com. Tell us your uncool stories. Tell us that one time you got to be cool. That's something we didn't talk about. We all have that story where we actually were cool for one time.
I have never been cool.
I can tell you mine, and it'll take all of 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
I was working, because it comes from one of the most uncool things ever. I was a car salesman for about 6 or 7 months. That's about as uncool as it gets, okay? I hated that job, but one time we had gotten in a used Cadillac Escalade.
Okay.
And so it was coming down to the end of the day, and we had we would put cars up near the road, to kind of get people to come in, and that was one of them, because this is the time when the Escalade was all over everything.
Huge.
This is in 05 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, we got to move all the cars back onto the lot so we can lock the gate. And I was like, okay, cool. So I got the keys for the Escalade because I just wanted to drive it. Which I will say right now, Cadillac Escalade, if you ever get a chance to drive one, will be one of the smoothest driving vehicles you have ever had the pleasure of sitting behind the wheel of. Okay,
now I want one.
So here is my 30 seconds of cool.
Okay.
I turn the radio on. I turn the car on. The radio starts playing, and it's pumping out Notorious B.I.G. Mo Money Mo Problems.
Nice.
I'm driving an Escalade, listening to this blaring through the speakers with the windows down, back around off the lot. I turned off the keys, and I was no longer cool any longer.
Yeah. Now I've got to ask.
That was it.
I got to ask. Stock rims or bubbles?
Oh, they had bubbles. Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was one. I don't know this for a fact, but looking at a lot of the options and the aftermarket stuff that was on it, it was more than likely a repo that wound up back in it. Wound up at the auction. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was. That was my 30 seconds of cool for my entire life. So,
well, folks, I am the uncool Big Dave,
and I am the uncool Alan Smith. We will see you next time.
Have a good one.